the one group that was studied. And then the other group. When those babies were born, they scanned their brains, and the babies whose mothers were under constant stress, their brains were actually malformed from the ones that were born without the stress. And so they were kind of set up for failure to start with, because what it was they learned was that the cortisol that the mother is constantly producing because of her high stress and anxiety level was affecting the formation of the baby's brain. And so we also know that, that's what I was digging for. Yesterday I ran across an email and I opened it up, and it was a perfect one for you guys to see, so I'll find it and send it to you. But it's about a little girl. She looks like she's about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old in the video, and she has a little brother that looks like he's about a year and a half, 2 years old. And the mom and dad are in a domestic violence, alcohol, situation. So it shows her in that situation. It shows the police coming in and arresting him, and her getting taken, and her little brother being taken somewhere else. And she talks about what it was like, that life, and what she was feeling as she was going through all that.
Video?
Yes.
They just finished watching that.
You just finished watching it. Okay. Well, I hadn't seen that one, but that's a very powerful one, because basically she has trauma-induced depression. And so you saw her anger and her anger outbursts, right? And so that's a typical, predictable, when you have an illness, a mental illness, or a brain disorder, you have typical, predictable behaviors. In other words, it's something that it's not that you won't do it, or you're being defiant and not doing something. It's that you can't do it because of the way your brain is wired, and because of all the way the chemicals affect your brain. And so kids that are severely depressed, or that are going through depression, have anger and aggression outbursts. And that's just something that we didn't understand. And I saw kids that would be, and then you also saw this with the mother. Of course, we now know that she was just getting her little brother there, but when she thought that she was going to be rejected again, that she had done something wrong, and so she saw her on the phone calling, and she thought she was going to have to leave again, so she went back. And so what happens with these kids is that they build up this wall, or this self-protection mode, where they stop feeling. They won't get close to anybody anymore. They won't depend on anyone. They don't trust anybody, because I'm just going to leave anyway, so why bother? That kind of thing. And I saw that over and over with the kids that I advocated for, and that our advocates, also advocated for. And, just the idea that, I'm no good. And it's so sad when you see this happening to these kids, because, for example, my very first child, her name was Amanda. She was 12 when I got her, and she was involved in sexual assault from her mother's boyfriend. And so it definitely was. She told her mother. She didn't believe her, and finally her mother got up just on a coincidence one night and caught him. And so she blamed Amanda, because now you caused me to lose my man. And to this day she still is blaming Amanda for this. And she was 12. Come on, he was 34. Anyway, it took a long time for her. She went through the anger and stuff, and why this program is so important is because I truly believe that she had not have had a constant advocate to stay with her through all those years, to get through all of that, and to reassure her that it would get better, and that there was hope, and that she had to stop being a little. I used to tell her she was being a little shit. And I found that worked really well with her.
Keep it real, yeah.
Yeah, and she'll say, well, my son is being, a little shit like I was. But anyway, because when you try to, you need to kind of come down to their level a little bit when you're talking to them. So she talked about how she knows as well, that she said there were so many times that I just wanted to kill myself, because I thought, why when my mother is blaming me, I must be a really bad person. And then they put him in, she was put into a facility in San Antonio, where it was actually an adjudicated facility, meaning that kids that had committed crimes and had been ordered by the judge to be incarcerated were placed in the same program, in the same building, in the same bedrooms as our foster kids. And so she had to walk down the halls with her arms crossed at an arm's length from, looking straight. She couldn't look around. The doors would clang closed behind them and clang open in front of them. It was horrific. and I don't know if it's gotten much better about the psychotropic drugs. Has it gotten much better about that?
No, not really.
Okay. So we have a 12-year-old child who, when I first met her, I said, is there anything you'd like to have from your home? Because they just take them in the middle of the night with the trash bag like you saw. Is there anything that you want? She said, I want a clear backpack, my brush, and I want my Bible. I was like, oh my God, broke my heart. Okay, I'm going to get your Bible. So that's the kind of kid she was in the beginning. And, okay, the ADHD just kicked in. Let me see where we're going to go with this one. She was a really good kid. Oh, that's what it was. But so they take her and put her into where they go first is the emergency shelter. We've been over all this already. Okay, so she went to Austin to the emergency shelter. And they don't turn the lights out. They might dim them a little bit, but they don't turn them out. There's a room. The bedroom is like from this wall to that bookcase. So it's not very big, but you have bunk beds here, and bunk beds here. And you might even have 2 sets back there. So there's going to be 6 to 8 kids in there, and they're all ages. So you might have a baby that's crying and a 16-year-old that's ranting, raving, or whatever. So that's the environment that they're placed into. So here's a little, bright-eyed, beautiful complexion. I mean, she had the most precious bright eyes child that was placed in this environment. And so after about the 5th day, of course, I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. After about the 5th or 6th day, she was becoming very overwhelmed. And she told the staff, she said, I hate this place, I want to run away, or maybe I'll just kill myself. She had no intentions of, she didn't really mean, I'm suicidal, I'm planning to kill myself, whatever. She just, off the whim, and I've said it before, oh my God, I should just kill myself. But you don't really mean that that's what your plan is. But because the way the system is, she has suicidal ideations. So that bumps her up from a basic care at $400 to a intense care at $1,600 a month. So they were able to justify placing her in this place in San Antonio, which is a lockdown facility. But when she went there, she went into the medium security because she hadn't really been a flight risk or anything, but they needed her bed for a child that was definitely medium security. So they just used her words and played on those and put her in the intense one, which was with the kids that are hardcore, the really mean, bad kids. And they put her on 5 psychotropic medications because she's suicidal, and she's depressed and whatever else she was. So when I finally got in to go see him, you gotta be mama bear on some of this, or dad, papa bear. You've got to say no. I have a court order that says I can see my kid, and I'm going to see my kid. And and you have to make them. They didn't want to let me in because it wasn't a visitation day or whatever it was that they would. Nope, that ain't gonna work. I got her calling me crying that something's going on, and I want to see her. So when I saw her, she had pimples on her face. Her hair, she'd been pulling her hair out a little bit. It looked horrible. She was really kind of disheveled and dirty. And she had this, she was rocking, and she was fiddling with her hands, and she was saying, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't sleep. I don't know what's going on. I'm producing breast milk. And they just tell me, oh, that's normal for this medication. And they didn't tell me anything else. She said, I've been taking toilet paper and putting it in there so that it in my bra so that it doesn't show through my shirt. Oh my goodness. I'm like, yeah. I became the redhead that Joe is. And so, we got her moved very quickly from that facility. When I left there, it was 5 o'clock and the staff leaves at 5. So I was in a visitation room with her. I guess they just forgot us. So when I came out, all the doors were locked and I couldn't get out. So I said, well, let's wander this way and see where we can, where we're going or how I can get out. And so we got to doors and planks, and I got to witness the kids. That's how I knew that they were walking prison style, and these kids were doing all this stuff. And the caregivers were yelling and screaming at the kids like guards. It was horrible. So when I came straight back to Bryan, I was working. This one didn't work, existence then, and got the DA and the CPS worker and the court-appointed attorney, and all of us met the next morning. The DA says, well, I'm going to call and get this straightened out. They wouldn't take her call. It was great. It was Margie Locke. They wouldn't take her call. Oh boy, the war was on then. So she got in her car with her deputy from Brazos County, and went up and got the child and brought her back and put her in a local facility until they moved her, to another place. So it's, but the psychotropic medic. So then you had to wean her off all those psychotropic medications, and we had no idea what effect it was going to have on her that she had been taking. She's never taken another one since. She did not need them, but the system played it. And the other side of that story is if she hadn't had a CASA advocate to go in there and fight for her, I guarantee you she would have stayed in that facility until she was 18 years old. She would have learned all those good habits those other girls would have taught her. And they would have opened the door when she was 18 and said, have a good life. And we'd have had another one on the streets kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of that, but you have to just know that, there is, I have 3 cases that have proved to you that if you fight and stay with your kid and, stand tough to the system, that you can help that child have a successful life. She also we were a week before, we had ordered graduation gown, we had gotten the invitations and the ring, the whole 9 yards. Literally 5 days before graduation, they called her in and said, you're not going to be able to walk because we found out you haven't had Texas history, which is a half a credit. And so she said, yes, I did. And they said, no, we can't find it in your transcripts. Oh, Lord, she was so upset. So she gets me on the phone. I said, yeah, you had it at, I couldn't remember wherever she had it. And so what I said, stay on the phone. I picked up the phone and called the counselor. And so you have to keep, what I did for each kid is I had a spiral notebook that I just kept turning the page and writing more stuff. So this was 6 years later, or 5 years later, or whatever, 6 years later, I guess. I was able to flip back through my pages and see who the counselor was at that school. And I called her and I said, we've got 5 days to graduation. They're not letting her walk. What can you do? And she said, she looked on it, was looking on the computer. She said, I see it here. I will send it to the facility. I said, well, you send it to me too, right, so that I have it in my hand and I can fax it to them. They're going to get 10 copies of this. And so then she was at 2 days before graduation, and they finally said, okay, you get to walk. So that's the kind of stuff that these kids go through. And you have to remember, they didn't do anything wrong.
Well, that's why documentation is so important in
Yes.
these cases. It might not be important today, but it might be important in 4 or 5 years from now. Can you talk a little bit about some of the services that NAMI provides and kind of how you're coordinating that with CASA and the CPS cases now?
What we're trying to do is there's so much new resource and education courses and information out there now, so we're trying to help educate the CPS program. And they are being receptive. They were a little dug in, like, for example, if parents that have mental illness, you just terminate. If you have a diagnosis, your life is going to be terminated because those kids can't live with a mentally ill parent. And so I was able to get that mindset changed to where they didn't terminate on a lot of these parents. Some of them, yes, you need to, because there isn't a lot of hope. But a lot of them, like my son, for example, like he's had great visits all week with his kids that were here from California and Baltimore, and he has the schizoaffective, and he was fine with him, went to town with them. His daughter's 16, they drove, and everything was great because he's in a good, healthy recovery stage right now. But there have been times that he was ill, and so I didn't expose them to that. And then like my granddaughter said, she was probably 10, and she said the reality is, Grandma, now you and Mom are not going to live forever, and I'm going to have to be the one taking care of him, so I need to know everything I can about him. And the other reality is technically they could also develop the illness because it is genetic. So what we do is we educate not only the professionals in the group, but the parents and the kids. We have a great class that Julie has finally completed developing that teaches them skills like validation and de-escalation of self-de-escalation and things like that help these families work together and work with these kids a little more and not it was very hard as a parent when you see your kid being bad and tearing things up and everything, not to want to do something that your parents would have done to you when you did that. But we're trying to teach them ways of talking them down, of taking a parental timeout. I still do that. I have to go to a timeout. You just stay right there, I'll be back, but I have to go to a timeout because I'm about to be bad. And so, we teach them those kind of things. We are working with the school districts, and what we did with one young man that was from Washington County, actually, he had Asperger's. And because I had personal experience with a child that was a high-functioning Asperger's child, I recognized the symptoms when they brought him into the courtroom in his little orange suit with his shackles age 12, because he had, been disruptive at school and destructive. And so they were going to send him to the Bastrop TYC thing. They were going to put him in jail. They wanted him arrested and out of their campus. And I went round and round with the counselor. She kept saying he's ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder. And I said, no. He has Asperger's, I promise you. And so finally I talked the judge into court ordering a test to have him tested, and sure enough, that's what it was. So then once we knew that and they accepted it, the school that he was in Klein, they were already kind of ahead of Brenham as far as some of the things that they did. But children with autism spectrum disorder are walking encyclopedias. I mean, they are geniuses. They are remarkable photographic memory and stuff. And so but each of them will have their own, like one will like trains, and one will like army things. One will like Temple Grandin, like the cattle industry.
They have a focus.
There's one thing that, that they just hone in on, and his was clean. So what I did is I bought a timer, and I worked it out with the school that he would be allowed to go clean something, basketballs, chalkboard, or whatever, for 30 minutes. And then when the timer went off, he would turn it back on and go do his math. And then he would turn it on and go do cleaning. And then he would do reading. And so he alternated every 30 minutes, except for lunch, in between math, reading, and cleaning. And so he went from write-ups, sometimes numerous in one day, to no write-ups for the whole next year. He became very neat and orderly in his appearance. It was important to him to be clean and brush his teeth and do all those wonderful things. And he went from a pre-K reading level to almost third grade level that first year. And he spent 3.5 years another God thing. I always say God kept coming into our cases too, but the home that he was placed in, that group home mother had a son who had Asperger's too, so she was already very well aware of behaviors and methods of getting them calmed down and stuff like that. So it was just a perfect match. He has subsequently returned home and gone back to the Brenham School District. We have been able to go in and educate some of them as well on what. So you have to, what I tell them is we got to think outside the box. What you're doing is not working. It's making everybody miserable. So what can we do with these kids? They had another one, Gregory, that he had very high anxiety. And so what we worked out with the teachers, he had a special little pass, and he would hold the pass up. Started this in Austin. He would hold it up, she would nod at him, and he was allowed to go out and go down to the counselor's office or the computer lab or where it was. He could put the headphones on and listen to music, and it might be 5 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, but once calmed himself back down, then he would come back into the class. He too got to come back home, because not only did they work with him and teach him how to control his behaviors, but we educated the parents. She was the parent that said that she punished him by saying, if you don't do what I told you to do, I'm gonna take you out in the field and I'm gonna tie you down and like they do Indians, and I'm gonna pour honey on you so the ants will eat you. She said, well, that's what my mother said. She said this in our family group conference, and I'm like, oh my God. She said, well, that's what my mom said to me, and it worked on me, It's like, okay, we can't do that.
So how do you get involved in the cases now? Does CPS request your involvement, or is it a parent's attorney, or?
Both. I've had both. And then parents that, for example, if you have a parent that has a child that has an illness or something, then you would give them our contact or my contact number. I would visit with them on a one-on-one basis and kind of see what the issues are and what the illness is. I probably will parent them or partner them with another parent in their area that has a child that has a similar illness as a support ongoing there. We answer the phone 24/7, just kind of like they do around here. And then we will educate, here's some books to read, here's some stuff to read, here's a CD to listen to, whatever, educate, because the more we can learn. We have also gone to court hearings with parents on juveniles. I had one that he was vandalizing or something, but he had schizophrenia. And I'm like, come on, Judge, you cannot give this kid a $375 fine, because it's the parents that have to pay. I go to police trainings all the time and say, please, if you have They call them frequent flyers. If you have a frequent flyer and he's driving, do not impound his car because it's his parents or his wife that's going to have to pay for it. You're not punishing him. You're not having any effect on him when you do that. So if you know he's a frequent flyer, call somebody that you know, and they've been real good about doing that as well. And so things like that. And most people are very. I've also gone to the district court here and in Bryan and said, here's the person has an illness. They've been in jail. Will you give them time served for the ticket or the fine that you got done? And so usually, and I haven't, most of the time they'll say yes, that they allow them to do that because they know and ultimately that it's either not going to get paid and they don't want them in jail. They don't want to have to deal with them either. Learning empathy and compassion and tolerance is one of the main things. And there's going to be times that you're going to want to wring their little necks, but you have to remember that their brain is not formed yet. They have no frontal lobe that's working. That's their traffic cop that says, oh no, stop, or the gear shifter, don't do that because you'll be in trouble. Once they get into a certain mode, that one just shuts down. And they've proven that with brain scans. They take brain scans of kids that are in crisis, and there's no frontal. It's gray. Nothing's on. When they say there's nothing on upstairs, that's what they're meaning. There's no light on. The only thing that's lighting is the hippocampus area that is the fight, flight, or freeze. And you ask teachers that over and over too, and they'll say, oh yes, well, they either fight you, they're the ones that want to tear up the room or beat somebody up. They'll take off. And that Gregory kid was one of those. When he became severely frustrated, he would take off running and run and run and run and run. And then you have some that just sit there and won't say anything. And that's the only three things that they know that they're able to do because that's the only thing their brain will allow them to do. And when you understand that and get that, then it's easier to have that tolerance and that patience with them that you probably wouldn't have before. And it works and I'm saying kids, but their parents are just about, they're everything I'm saying will go with the parents as well.
Can you talk a little bit about your youth mental health first aid course that you have?
Yes, we have a course now that we're really, really excited about that's developed in Australia. It's an 8-hour course that offers certification to parents and teachers and anyone that works with children. And it takes them through what mental illness is, how the brain's broken, what's going on, how nutrition, and that's another thing that you need to really impress upon your parents or your caregivers is that nutrition, consistency, and sleep are critical because their brains are not going to work right if they don't. Because yourself, if you, like me, I've had this wedding and grandkids in and, so much going on that I haven't been getting any sleep. I've been just grabbing it along the way here. I had a gingerbread cookie, kind of thing. So you're not able to think as well or have the patience and tolerance that you would otherwise, and so impress upon them to do that. But this class teaches the caregivers and the teachers and whoever works with kids that this is what it is, and we have research and pictures and documents that we can show you that prove that it is true. And then what it does on the second half of the class is we have scenarios of different situations, like we would have a child that was a runner. Okay, and so what the teachers and the individuals do is they go through that scenario as if one will be the kid, one will be the teacher, and then they practice saying and do it, because I know you've probably been the same way. You go to a training, you learn all this great stuff, and then when it comes to using it, you're going, what am I supposed to do? Whereas if you learn it and then you kind of do it a little bit, you're going to remember it easier. Plus, then we encourage plagiarism. So there's all kinds of cool things that different people have said through the training that we're able to do, like use your words, not your behavior, to talk to them, and different things like that. So
I've gone through the training. We actually held it for some of our CASA advocates a couple years ago, and it was very, very beneficial for me because for me it put verbs in. It gave me actions. The practicing the scenarios back and forth with each other, what words to say versus what words not to say to a child that's in crisis, was very helpful to me. So they do offer it several times a year in different scenarios, so that's to let our volunteers know about. It's not a requirement, it's an option if you want to go through it. There is a cost to it, but it's very, very good and very well worth the money, I believe.
And it also works on husbands or wives. some of those verbs.
Mhm.
Anyway, have either of you had a history with working with kids before? You have? Okay. So everything I'm telling you, you probably know a lot of basically what I'm saying, but maybe it's more current information. Does it surprise you?
Oh, nothing a teenager does surprisingly too much. They're wired for sound, I guess you'd say. They're just, yeah, get them all kinds. I've had good ones, bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
Most ones I dealt with good. I didn't have any problems.
Didn't have any problem with
Yeah.
I'm listening to it.
Narcotic, or actually marijuana use was the biggest problem I had. I catch them every now and then.
And in defense of marijuana, which I know is not,
It's against the law.
it's against the law. That's the only, well, that's not the only one, but that's the primary downfall. However, I will say that I understand why and I tell officers all the time, there are consequences for illegal or bad behavior. There has to be, because we cannot maintain society otherwise. But there also has to be some other factors that can be factored in on your punishment phase of whatever they're, they should be accountable, but let's think about it. And one of it is two things with the marijuana that kind of ties in with alcohol as well, or other drugs, is that if you were to scan some of these kids' brains, you would say, oh my God, no wonder they can't pay attention, or they're so wound up, or they're so angry, because it's literally a ring of fire. It's red and orange, just going crazy. But when they smoke marijuana, or they do some of the drugs, or they drink the alcohol, you will see the brain go blue and green. It will calm down. And so it's a very bad, way of dealing with your problem. But to help understand why they do it and why they keep doing it, even when they know that they're not supposed to, they get in trouble. It makes it more understandable. And so what we have to do is teach them, and they call them ants. And there's that Dr. Amen, I was going to tell you, I'll try to give y'all some CDs on that. But he talks about how you literally, when you have these pathways in your brain that cause compulsion and addiction issues. And so when you're frustrated and you smoke marijuana, and that you're just digging that path deeper and deeper. So the only way that your body knows how to react is to go down that deep path. It's not going to go down this new territory. And so it helps understand that. So what we have to do is teach them other methods of calming down, other things that they can do in lieu of that. And so it gives you more, it gave me more patience with my son, as far as being able to not be so angry and so upset whenever I knew that he had drank or he had done drugs, because I knew why he was doing it. Another thing that he told me in one of his well periods was that because I'm ill, because I'm crazy, he says, no, I don't have any friends. They either make fun of me, or they use me, or, they don't want to be around me because they're scared it's going to rub off on them. But when you're drinking and drugging and doing those illegal things, everybody's your friend. They don't care. Come on, hey, how are you? And because you have that innate, deep desire to feel accepted and to feel loved and to feel normal, whatever that is, it's worth the risk of the consequences to have that few hours or that day or whatever of feeling normal. So that's why one of the reasons that he understood why he did what he did, because he wanted, to go dancing, or he wanted, he was 26, he wanted to do something, that normal people do. So again, he understands that it's wrong and there's consequences, and you just have to keep talking. You're talking to them about that. But it helps you as an advocate understand and not have that, because kids pick up real quick on what you're thinking and what you're believing, even though you're saying something different. Yeah. So we have to kind of, it must be hard to live with what's going on with you, but living with or smoking marijuana is not the answer. What can I do to help you find another way? I know that there's out there. Can we look? Is there somebody you'd like to talk to that you feel comfortable talking to? What can I do to help you? And so when they act, you might have to tell them 2, 3, 5 times, but at some point they're going to finally open up to you and talk to you, because they're going to see you keep coming back. They're going to see you, standing up for them and telling the CPS worker what they really want or don't want and all that stuff. Be real honest. Like I used to tell the kids, I know you're going to want to do some crazy things, but I'm like a Nana, and I'm not going to let you cannot dye your hair purple. It's not going to happen. So don't even ask me to go ask the CPS worker if you can dye your hair purple, because I'm not going to do it. And so you just kind of be real honest with them about that too.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's got real weird hair. I just ignore it.
Yeah.
After a little while, they go back to regular.
Because you're doing more
Yeah.
attention. If you don't get any
That's
attention,
right.
they can get what they
Walks in
wanted.
with purple hair. and says, how you doing? They done, but
Yeah. Unfortunately, you see, well, they're
Didn't
getting
get
better
rise out
right
of
now.
you.
You see more and more now, but you see more, lots of kids. I still kind of go, but that's my preference anyway. But the classes that we took, we have lots, like I said, lots of research. Another thing that we're able to do is that, like, if you have a kid that has an illness and the kid is needing to go to a facility or a hospital, sometimes if you can contact us, one of the things we can do is we have connections with various psychiatric hospitals. So I can call my friend Matt at Cedar Crest and say, hey Matt, I've got a 12-year-old that has schizophrenia and he's been off his meds and he's got this insurance, do you have a bed? And he's going to say yes or no, and then I can say, okay, well, Cedar Crest has a bed, call them. Or if he says no, don't bother with Cedar Crest, whereas CPS is going to sit 2 or 3 days trying to call around. So we're able to find out, and that's basically all we do is, do you have a bed or not? Don't waste our time, and we won't waste your time if you don't, kind of thing.
So just a really good additional resource. If you have any questions, if you get a case with a parent or a child has a mental illness diagnosis, or you suspect they might have an undiagnosed mental illness, Jody and Julie are really great resources to just call, send an email, just tell them what your concerns, what your questions are. They'll be willing to come meet with you, meet with the family.
And St. Paul's is going to be hosting maybe Vernon Christian Academy is going to be having a youth mental health class, and so when they do, I'll let y'all know when it is, and I'll let you know and some of your volunteers or not. If the class isn't full, then we can come.
Great. Well,
Okay.
thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'm stop the recording.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye-bye, camera. That's what Jennifer used to say when she was little. Bye-bye,